Men in the skin flick industry. What are the dark and hidden truths of the industry? I worked on one adult set, and bro. The smell. Ungodly. I'll never forget it. I dry heaved for about 20 minutes and couldn't go back into the room. Something deep was unlocked. Trimix use is freaking rampant. So many injuries cause of suspensory ligament division. If you can't splooge on command, you're pretty much never gonna get a job with a larger studio. I don't know about the other studios, but pretty much any shoot in Burbank is at a rented property. The whole place ends up smelling like sweat and crap if butt stuff is being shot. All those shower scenes are super cold. We're freezing our butts off in there because otherwise the camera lenses and equipment would be destroyed from the steam. I did photography for a large company in the late 2000s. I had no idea there was a blurred gray line when it comes to skin flick, non-con skin flick. I quit because of how one of the poor guy, non-hetero gang fornication scene, was being treated. After 4 hours, he was done. He was so uncomfortable and in pain. Visually shaken and shut off. Took him home from set, gave him some care, fed him, gave him some space to process what had just happened to him and let him talk about it, and bought his plane ticket home. I couldn't stomach the abuse under the guise of contracts. It was terrible. Never went back even after I was reprimanded and offered a raise, all in the same conversation. A friend of mine was a cameraman in the Valley for a company and told me that substance abuse was pretty rife. Like the female talent showing up with empty liquor bottles in their cars. Another was just how crappy it can be to be a cameraman sometimes, which he was. He specifically told of a scene he filmed where he had to get underneath the man getting fun stimulation, and just globs of spit would fall onto his forehead while he filmed that part of the scene. It was just so freaking gross to me, LMAO. My wife worked in the skinflick industry, editing raw footage for a British skinflick co. A lot of what she saw was on the level consensual between two parties. But over 3 years she was there, she got asked to cut or make the scenes look better more and more often. A perfect example was when a male actor choked his counterpart into unconsciousness and continued to just brutalize her, face slapping, pinching and grabbing her bosom. She tidied it up best she could, came home, bawled her eyes out for 2 straight hours. She quit the next day and moved into reality TV for a while, but that too was awful, hours and treatment, and it's now out of the editing industry completely. Skinflicks chew up its talent in some pretty cruel ways, man or woman. There's this thing called the magic 8 or at least there used to be. 8's member can last at least 80 minutes and still spunk on command, and can keep it up while at least 8 people just watch. Even with the magic 8, dudes will never make the same kind of money as their female coworkers in straight skinflicks. If you are a dude, you often need to do non-hetero skinflicks just to earn a decent wage. Fluffers aren't really a thing when sildenafil, Viagra, is cheaper. The amount of misconduct on set is bonkers. It's very common for experienced talent with no ethics to take advantage of new talent before or after a scene to show them the ropes. Working skinflick period messes up your personal dating life, even if you are an accountant or marketing. Just mentioning that you work for company makes people very leery about dating you. You are almost entirely restricted to dating in the industry. Which sucks when you are just an accountant trying to get by. Edit. Since people are asking, yes, I did work in the adult film industry for a very brief period. I was equipment manager for one of the production houses. I did not date any models, but I did date in the industry. I mostly just received inventory, but I also was in charge of loaning out assets like cameras, audio recording gear, lighting, etc. We would order gear, and it was my job to receive it, tag it, put it into inventory, then check it out for use. I'm friends with a director here in Japan. The industry is a mess right now, to a point where adult film production might become illegal in the future. Here's are some of the problems that the industry is facing. Loss of revenue from online pirating. Severe labor shortage, which is only made worse by needing to work longer hours for lower pay. There's only really a handful of male actors left in the industry. New laws requiring a mandatory cool-off period after a shoot to allow actors to change their mind and prevent their work from entering the market. While this prevents exploitations, it also means that people need to wait a long time before getting paid for the shoot. The above law is forcing actors to go underground, where they are promised immediate payment but without all the safety and legal protection offered by legitimate productions. The government turns a blind eye to this because it's mission accomplished for them after passing law. So yeah, Japan might become like South Korea soon in that aspect. During college, I used to bounce for a lot of adult dance clubs that were frequented by a lot of early 2000s big name stars in black films. A few of them told me most of the BBCs they took a pounding from were extremely painful. They just took the pain and focused on the check. I knew a dude worked in the Japanese adult film industry. He said often due to the pixelation there wouldn't be actual intercourse, and for the money shots, the guys would often hold a tiny hose on their Johnson with fake fluids being pumped from off camera. Former gay adult actor. You get paid more or less depending on what you're willing to do. The least amount is simply nude posing or getting off on camera. The most one would get paid for is double penetration or being the bottom in an all-men affair. Also, a lot of happy porn actors aren't actually happy. They simply do it for the money, and they're on so many pills like Blue Chew that they develop dysfunction by the time they're in their 40s. My career in paid studio sessions was extremely brief and would barely constitute as such, but it's important to shatter the fantasy that being in the industry means you have great, fun time with hot people. In my own experience, if I wanted work or wanted to be paid for work, I had to convince myself to have fun times with people I was genuinely not at all attracted to, or in some instances even found repulsive. When you are the commodity, they, producers, agents, etc., do what they want and use you any way they see fit. The exploitation is not something you want to experience and seldom have the ability to avoid. The psychological impact of doing some of the things you're called to do is a burden that can linger for a very long time and impact your life outside of the bedroom. My ex makes good money from only Dysons. It is sketchy as heck. Lots do everything by the book. Keep IDs, test regularly, have contracts, pay taxes, do safe meets, etc. But there are many who don't. The site changed their rules a couple of years ago in an attempt to ensure that everyone featured was of age and consenting. It essentially meant to feature in a video you had to have your own OnlyFans account and be verified by them. Because he had to remove a few videos because some wouldn't agree to join. He was contacted by a reasonably well-known creator who offered to make that all go away. They blow the videos and then have another creator claim that they are in the video. My ex reported this to Only Dysons and supplied proof of it happening with messages and videos that tagged multiple creators in videos that clearly are not them, and it was ignored. What it essentially means is that there are countless people who have no idea they have been recorded and used in this way, being exploited for cash. The doxing is also very weird. I was in one video with my ex, consensually, and we did everything right. My tattoos were covered up, my face was obscured, we didn't use names, and he has a pseudonym. Despite that he was identified, probably by someone he filmed with, they gained access to his social media, found a picture of us together at a gym event, blew them up alongside grabs from the video and mapped our moles and doxed him and me. Only knew it happened because one of them couldn't resist messaging me on Instagram to tell me he knew my secret. They are messed up. There's also a massive issue of Saw. My ex is a strict top while being filmed, but he's gone to a collab where everything has been pre-agreed, and he's turned up and there's 3 guys who want to film a different scene entirely. There's this idea that the studio system was exploitative and self-publishing content creators have taken the power back, but the simple fact is that it still can be abusive and you can still end up watching someone being abused. Fluffers aren't real. Scrolls down. Fluffs are real. Not in the industry anymore, but did some real amateur stuff for about a year when I was in college for extra money. The only dark truth I can recall was that they expressly stipulated that the advertised compensation was only for men who were willing to do some M scenes. The MF scenes only paid about 45% of the advertised compensation. I'm bi, so it wasn't a big deal, but just know you'll have to be okay with action if you want to make the good money. I mean, there was also the encouragement of stacking drugs to enhance hard-ons and keep it hard, so the fluffers didn't have to bounce around in progress scenes as much. But I always figured people assumed that anyway, lol. If you are a guy who does man adult films and you are a bottom, you are either 100% okay with whatever is going to be done to you, or you have been sawed, or you have only done 1 to 2 shoots. The amount of times I've said wait a moment or slow down or stop and had the guy running the show tell the guys on top of me to keep going, your clothes is crazy. And that's only the low end. Some of the tops get off on it, and some of the directors do too. There is a reason that turnover for bottoms is crazy in the industry. Your client base is 99% guys, whether you want to look at members or not. As a male content creator, the only dark things I've experienced have been unreliable, unstable talent. Women deal with a lot more bull in the industry than we do. A couple interesting stories since we're on the topic. I showed up one day to film a scene for another independent adult film guy. I wasn't in the scene this time, I was just filming for him. It was gonna be a B, G, G scene, and the girls had done a G, G scene before I got there. When I arrived, one of the girls was in the bathroom forever and I could hear her crying. They eventually told me that during the G, G scene, the glass member they were using literally broke off and was stuck in her behind. They got it out without needing to go to the hospital, but I imagine she was crying from pain and embarrassment. This isn't really a dark story but memorable for me. I had a scene with a decently known female talent. The whole scene revolved around a facial, it's how it was going to be marketed, and was the main draw. Before we filmed the scene, she went on a 10-minute tirade about how much she hated male fluids. Then after the scene, after taking one from me, she went on for 20 more minutes about how much she hated it. It was just awkward for me. She held up okay during the scene, but I just don't know why she continues to do facial scenes since she hates them so much, honestly, probably cause it would hurt her bookings. Most of the stepmother scenes are filmed by actresses with no marital or familial relationship to the actor. They just lie about it. I spent a year doing amateur films to get through college, and then, full-time, for a while cause I dropped out. I didn't like the weird water cooler relationship I had with the actors and crew, mostly cause acting so casual afterwards was just really awkward for me. What ended up drawing the line to the dark side for me was being recognized in public by a teenager who said I was one of her favorites, and that she needed a BF my age. I was 27. While I'm not sure where in her teens she was, she looked 16 to 17 and her mom seemed a bit, IDK how to say this, but cash me outside, older adult. This really got in my head. Some of the videos I had done were 18, barely legal, but the actresses, in my case, were actually closer to my age and just looked young. I couldn't get it out of my head that the teens that watch this stuff, cause you know they do, use it to normalize inappropriate relationships. They aren't always able to separate the entertainment of it from what's actually okay. I felt this made them vulnerable to predators and just couldn't do it anymore. I quit soon after, I didn't want to be complicit. As dumb as that sounds. Upside, the experience made me want to be better in general, so I went back to college and graduate at the end of this semester. You are never going to get paid as much as females do, even if you're a star in the male film category. Female actors, even amateurs, make significantly more per scene. Additionally, those women in the cam and subscriber sites have significantly more opportunity and income compared to any male asterisk if he is even allowed to sign up. We all have tiny schlongs, it's just Hollywood magic. You think the actress is sucking, but it's just forced perspective, she's actually 5 feet across the room like those scenes from LOTR. A lot of the male daddies are extremely flamboyant when they aren't being filmed. I watched one in the middle of power topping, yelling in super deep gravely voice going, "Yeah, you like that?" Just stop in the middle and in a high-pitched whiny voice go, "Oh my god, I'm so thirsty, someone bring me some water." Also, some of them inject into their manhood to stay hard. And once you see it happen, it completely takes away from ever watching professional adult films again. Horses don't look like horses on film, so if a scene requires a horse, they usually just tape a bunch of cats together. Ex-tech guy for a third-party filming props company. If I can add anything that hasn't being said already, could be never being able to really like anyone or be friends with. Not that I haven't crossed anyone truly nice, but the mix of drugs, other psychology baggage that most of the workers carry, not only actors. If you trust too much when stuff kicks in, they start messing up with equipment and push a bit the boundaries. I was young but shy, focused on keeping myself professional and never let myself being dragged in their lifestyle. This eventually backfired on me, when there's new clients, connections are important and I was never able to. On the other hand, I got dismissed right before a project with more bodily fluids involved than what I was already familiar with. Not many people would know because it's niche. There were 2 male identical twins that did male films together. Like together. They were couples since they were 15 and continued their relationship off camera. Since 2013 they split up. One of them is married and has children, I believe. The other one disappeared from the internet. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more content.